From Lalate headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons Lalate.
It's a big afternoon of Afternoons Lalate. This Friday afternoon, I'm back with your fourth stimulus check update of 2021 today. In this recording, we go over that monthly stimulus check the Democrats want you to have and why there may actually be more checks. OMG. Then we cut to the incredible details as the two-path process heats up, and why your recon for stimulus may actually get other money in there for you than initially thought. OMG as well. And then the third part of this video, we go over the big vote and how the vote is more important than when the vote. Then we cut to fifth stimulus, which gives you another stimulus check and raises your benefits up a lifetime. And then we turn to the big money that viewers continue to get. $22,000 in EC got. Viewers are getting 3 items. John got $10,000 yesterday. I have all the breaking news. It's a big new afternoon. And yes, here we go into the big 4th of July weekend. I'm here with you all weekend long, and the money is coming. This is Afternoons Lalate. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. How are you doing? Happy Friday. Congratulations, you made it to the weekend. I will be here with you all weekend long. Red, white, blue, and purple. And it's not cardinal blue, and it's not Royals red. I see what you're trying to do. How's the weather where you are? Jump in the live chat and tell me where you're tuning in from and how's the weather. We're going to have great weather all weekend long, and I'm going to be with you all weekend long because there'll be a lot of breaking news. So here we go. In this recording, we'll be going to go over that fourth stimulus check, that monthly stimulus check. Why there may actually be more checks, months of checks. OMG, this is getting very exciting. Then we cut to the surprise of the two-path process and why you may actually be getting more than just stimulus checks on this. Yes, sirree. Then the third part, we go to the surprising details about how the vote is more important than when they call the vote. They can still get those stimulus checks to you in the month of July, and I'll go over why the manner in which they vote is so important. We cut to fifth stimulus, which gives you another stimulus check, and the breaking news as the new job creations number was released this morning. Wow. And then we turn to the big money the viewers continue to get. Nisi got $22,000 and John got $10,000 yesterday. It's your day to get it, and this is Afternoons Lalate, America's only 24-hour day, 7 days a week financial news channel in America, Lalate, live in the morning and taped in the afternoons. Next up is Evenings Lalate, 90 minutes after this video. New show tonight. Stay on this video. It'll automatically take you there. Also, after that is Overnight's Crypto. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. Next up, 1 million. 400,000 1 year. Let's hit that million mark next. Also, like this video. Every like helps deliver you a beautiful piñata, and consider becoming a member. Let's get into that monthly stimulus check starting right now and understand why there may actually be more checks for you than initially thought. Those more checks are deliciousness. Let's go over what's at issue. The House bill provides a stimulus check for pandemic plus 1 year, but would the House bill actually end up giving you a lot more checks than the Senate proposal? Let's go over all the details you need to know. The House bill is pandemic plus 1 year. The Senate proposal is a monthly stimulus check from July to December. Let's compare then the monthly stimulus check amount. The monthly stimulus check amount from the House is $1,000 per month. The Senate approach is a stimulus check that is a amount unknown, and here we go. So House, pandemic plus 1 year. Senate monthly, July to December. And then the payouts. House, $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter. Senate monthly unknown, but word on the street is it's this. OMG. No, it's not that. It ain't that. It's just something sort of like that. It's somewhere, but who knows? It's something like that. And the payout is absolutely wonderful. Oh, we found it. It was hiding with Mitch's mixtape. There you go. $2,000 a month over 6 months, $12,000 or $1,400 over 6 months, $8,400. That is per person. That is deliciousness. But there's a new wrinkle in town, and it's not something on a senator's face. It's this. Pandemic plus 1 year? Well, there's a lot of talk now that the pandemic may not be over. We started the week with thinking that the pandemic's over and that the House bill would just provide you 12 months of stimulus checks, which would be $13,000. But now there's suggestion that the pandemic may not be over, as concerns about the Delta variant continue to expand. And if that's the case, the House bill would pay you more than $13,000, more than 12 checks. Compare that to the Senate and this. I think you have an opinion. Jump in the live chat right now and vote House of Senate. House of Senate, tell me where you're tuned in from and how's the weather. Suddenly, everything's changing. Yes, the House bill could actually end up paying you a lot more checks if the legislators now believe that the pandemic is not over. Pandemic plus 1 year? Wow. Vote right now. House of Senate, House of Senate. Who gets that forced stimulus check? You do. Single individual, $75,000 or less. Democrats want you to have a forced stimulus check. Democrats want everyone who had a third stimulus check to get a fourth one. Marry a couple, $150,000 or less. Democrats want you to have a forced stimulus check. Double it. Family of four. Democrats want you to have a forced stimulus check. Quadruple it. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, veterans benefits, Democrats want you to have a forced stimulus check. The forced stimulus check is not income, so it's not taxable. The forced stimulus check would not be a different check amount for different people. Even adult dependents would get a forced stimulus check. And the check comes monthly. It would not come in waves. So if you see the check over the 4th of July and it's eating a hot dog, don't try to wave at the check while it's eating. Hey, check, what's going on? I see you're sort of hungry. I'm sort of hungry for a check as well. It didn't wave back. It's not a waveable check, so it's not going to wave back. And it's more interested in having a hot dog than you. Check, come over here. I don't eat hot dogs, but I'll have the check. So there you go. The forced stimulus check would come in the month of July for the month of July, and in the month of August for the month of August. The forced stimulus check would go to a final vote in the month of July. And while Leader Schumer and Pelosi represent the final vote will be by July 4th, there's still ways to get that forced stimulus check to you in the month of July. Wow, and that is wonderful news. In the second part of this video, we're going to go over the two-path process and why it's important to know that now your stimulus checks, which actually may give you more under the House bill, may also give you a lot of other stuff. A lot of other stuff. And I don't mean Mitch's mixtape. A lot of other checks. What's going on here, Lalate? Yes, you're hearing the details of this first time on Afternoons Lalate. In the third part of this video, we go over calling the vote and why the manner in which they call the vote, not the day they call the vote, is the critical issue. But first, let's get a preview of the second half of this video. And it's fifth stimulus. It raises your benefits up a lifetime. And it applies a new benchmark. And we learned more about that benchmark with a breaking news this morning. And it also gives you a stimulus check. OMG. Those details are coming up in the second half of this video. But let's get some money. It's the Labor Day week. It's the 4th of July weekend. But it's still time to get some money. Get that pen and paper out. And if it must be a pen, if it must be acrylic crayon, understand it can be red, white, blue, or that beautiful American purple color. So get that right. Crayola color ready. And here we go. I want to congratulate the viewers of this channel. Nisi got $22,000 from this channel. John this week got $12,000 for Snap. Art got 3 items from this channel. Viewers are getting fortunes from this channel. And if you know what I do on this channel, that's what I do. I give people money. We're not here to track a check. What day am I going to get a forced stimulus check? No. What day are you going to get $15,000 next week? That's what we're going over. And let's go over all the details. In fall of 2020, we were waiting for second stimulus to pass, much like how we're waiting for fourth stimulus to pass. And I got viewers $250,000 of rent, utilities, and other items. Viewers like Tyrone got $15,000 for his family of 4 in Boston. Well, we're back doing that right now as well. And I did that also in spring of 2020 when I got viewers $25 million of EIDLs, loans to save their homes, their businesses, and their employees' homes. Also to save their employees' homes. But here we go. Get that pen and paper ready. We're going to go over rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, and also homeowners' utilities. It's a fortune. And each has their own eligibility. So if you reach out to one, they say no, reach out to the next. Are you ready? The rent, I say, generally is about 4 to 6 months of rent, about $5,000. But guess what? Guess what? Viewers are now getting $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 for rent day in, day out for this channel. So I want you to do the same. Where are you going to reach out to? You're going to reach out to your city hall, your city housing authority, your county hall, your county housing authority, your state hall, your state housing authority. Keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID, rent assistance or mortgage assistance or utility assistance because of COVID. Now, you don't say words that they don't know, like stimulus or Mitch's wonderful backup singing career. You had a backup singing career. Who do you backup sing for? Kevin McCarthy? I don't know. Yeah, they don't know that. I don't know that. I don't want to know that. So don't say words they don't know. There you go. Congratulations to Tim and Linda who got this great money. The next pot of the money is even better, and it's Snap. Yes, John got $12,000 this week for his family. Can you imagine? Gail got it. Lynn Glenn got it for herself, for her son, and her mom. And viewers are generally now getting $5,000 to $7,000. What is Snap? It's money for food. You get it from Department of Agriculture. How do you get it? Reach out to Department of Agriculture. What is it for? For food. And how much does it pay? A fortune. A family of four in Hawaii now gets upwards of $16,000 a year. Why so much money is being paid out? Because of two wonderful executive orders, one from Biden, one from Trump, that raise your benefits up 15% between now and December. So go get it. You're killing it. I'm killing it. You're getting $15,000, $16,000 for SNAP for a family of four in Hawaii, $5,000 for rent, or in some cases, viewers are getting $10,000 to $12,000. But the check, you're not really particularly killing it at the barbecue. I just hope you choke on that hot dog. It's not a rude check. It's just a hungry check. We're hungry for your check also. And there we go. But we got more money for you right now, and it's the money coming back from your states. The states have been ordered to return money back to you due to the federal government. The federal government had said that the states had overpaid you due to computer error. Not your computer. It works fine. It's their computer. And now the federal government has ordered the states to return that money back to you. How much are you getting? Well, one of you got $5,000. Where? Direct deposit to the account you have on file with the state. When? Well, reach out to your state to track the check and call them up and say, hey, hey, state, where's that check due to computer error that I'm owed? And can you track it with a computer that actually works this time, please? And finally, the wonderful money that's coming back from your federal government. If you're in the live chat and you have gotten any money from this channel, jump in the live chat right now and post what you got. I want to see those posts. Start posting, whether it's rent, whether it's utilities, whether it's SNAP, whether it's anything. Because it surprises me. I'm seeing numbers like utilities, $3,000. I used to record $800, $700 for utilities. Viewers are getting $3,000 for utilities. I was recording $5,000 for rent, and viewers are getting $10,000 to $12,000. And I was talking about $5,000 to $6,000 for SNAP, and viewers are getting $10,000, $12,000 for SNAP. So post in the live chat because it inspires other people to get the money. It also updates me as to how big the payouts are now. And the last payout is the wonderful return of your taxes on unemployment benefits. So let's go for how much, when, where, and how you can track it. First, how much? If you had, let's say, $9,000 of total unemployment benefits, you paid $5,000 in total taxes, of which $4,000 was your taxes on unemployment benefits. Congratulations, you're getting back $4,000 from the federal government. Where? Direct deposit, otherwise in the mail. When? This month. Can you track it? Yeah. About 70% of the time you can. Go to iris.gov and do a transcript search, and it will reveal stuff that you have never known, stuff that you may not want to know. It will reveal the tax return you filed, the taxes you paid. It will reveal, really, when did Mitch start his rapping career? It will reveal, what does Mitch really think about his upcoming mixtape? And when are you getting that refund check? And there you go. What's wonderful news better than that? The second part of your fourth stimulus check updated 2021, starting right now. 3 breaking details you're going to see in this video, which is first, why the fact that your stimulus is only in recon and nothing else in recon is so wonderful. Number 2, the protection about recon. And number 3, why it's now easier to pass recon than it was before. 3 weeks ago, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and the president were meeting routinely, unbeknownst to us, day in, day out, and saying the recon that has your stimulus checks in there is too big. It's too big. It has roads and bridges, and it may not pass. It's too big. So what happened then after all those consecutive meetings? Well, a week ago, last Wednesday, they met again and said, it's just too big. We got to take some stuff out of the recon. And what did they take out of the recon? They did a spinoff TV series. And they spun off from the recon roads and bridges. The new spinoff show called Nash Bridges with Don Johnson. Beautiful show. No, it's not called Not called Nash Bridges. It's called the two paths, recon and bipartisan. And while there is no Plymouth Barracuda, the bipartisan has your roads and bridges in it. There you go. All your stuff is still where it was in the recon for stimulus, climate, CLARES, checks for people, and checks across the board. 3 benefits came from this. And the third benefit you're learning for the first time in this afternoon's LA broadcast. Benefit number 1, that finally you had an identity. You had an identity as to what the recon was. The recon always had stimulus for you. It always had money for you. It always had money for people. And throughout the last 2 months, naysayers, even broadcast news were getting it all wrong, saying that the recon is all roads and bridges. It was wrong. And now that roads and bridges are gone, now people realize, oh, there was other stuff in that recon that had nothing to do with roads and bridges. In fact, it has nothing to do with infrastructure. It has nothing to do with anything but checks for people. So we got that wrong, they now realize. The naysayers, they're just sort of like chewing on a surfboard. But Mitch did us a favor, because Mitch actually helped silence the naysayers by trash talking the recon. What did Mitch say? Once the bipartisan had its own path, Mitch said, the recon's horrible. The recon's just checks for people. Yeah, it is, Mitch. It's just a progressive wish list. It's just a Democratic wish list. It's just a wish list for someone wishing. It's just a laundry list of people that stay at home and get checks that just, socialism, bankrupting America, and just checks for people. Thank you, Mitch. Just keep on going. Just explain it better as you go along. Now, that was wonderful news, because finally you had identity. There was always your money in the recon, and it was overshadowed by roads and bridges. Now, you're going to see in the third part of this video that while it was overshadowed by roads and bridges, was the president behind overshadowing it? He called it roads and bridges, and he had a backdrop with pictures of roads and bridges, and he appeared in front of roads and bridges, but there was always stimulus in there. And he always talked about roads and bridges and pay for roads and bridges from corporate taxes. Now that roads and bridges are gone from it, what is being paid for? Corporate taxes. Was roads and bridges sort of like a title for something that really wasn't going to be? That's coming up later in this video. But the second wonderful part about this was the protection. Now the protection of the recon was formulated, because now that roads and bridges were down the road in the next city, down the river, and in the next zip code in the bipartisan, the fort, F-O-R-T, that has your recon in it was protected. Who's protecting it? The soldiers of the Progressive Party, because everything that's in the recon is progressive. It has stimulus checks. It has checks for children. It has checks for seniors. It has checks for medicine. It has checks for climate. It has checks for electric vehicles. In fact, all it has is checks. And now the progressives are protecting it. But they had been protecting it 2 weeks ago. And they told us they were protecting it. And at the time we said, why are you protecting it? They were protecting it because they weren't really interested, the progressives, in roads and bridges. They're protecting the money for you. Jalapal had said 2 weeks ago that the White House had told the Jalapal to continue to protect it, the recon, as she was protecting it. Now we see what that meant. And Brian Schatz said that the president had repeatedly told Schatz that the progressive priorities in the recon that Schatz was protecting was the White House's own priorities. So the priorities wasn't roads and bridges. The priority was the recon and all your checks. Aha. You're getting a preview of what's happening in the third part of this video. And then, why did this also get more wonderful? This got more wonderful because the easiest way to pay for recon, the easiest way to pass recon, is to make it smaller. And so suddenly, with a smaller recon, Mitch McConnell actually made him boo-boo. A boo-boo that helped us by allowing bipartisan to be roads and bridges and taking the roads and bridges out of the recon. It made it easier to pass the recon because now the recon is a smaller value. Was Mitch McConnell set up by Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer? Of course he was. Sorry, Mitch. In fact, a Republican conservative publication, which has generally sometimes some very good news articles in there, actually had an op-ed 2 days ago and said they were set up. The Republicans were set up. When the recon was at a higher price number, it was harder to pass. By allowing the Democrats to take out, this is what the op-ed opinion editorial piece said, by allowing the Democrats to take out the provisions from the bipartisan of roads and bridges, it made the price tag of the recon smaller. Yeah, that's easy. In other words, the bipartisan deal made the recon easier to pass. Sorry, Mitch, you made it easier to pass our checks. You see now why Mitch is so angry. It's not because of the reaction to his mixtape. It's because of this. So there you go. I'm giving you sort of a preview of the third part of this video. How do we get to this wonderful spot from Jalapal? Jalapal had written the president a letter about 2 weeks ago saying, Chuck Schumer saying, call the vote. That letter was signed by 12 House Democrats who, among the 100-plus House Democrats, said, we're going to be putting monthly stimulus checks in the for stimulus recon. Notice I'm saying the word recon a lot because the Democrats write the recon, not the Republicans. It's the recon for the Democrats, and they write it. And who is writing those stimulus checks for the recon? Every time I say this, there is a place, there's somewhere Mitch is just going, oh, he's grimacing. Who wrote this letter? 7 House Democrats who are on the House subcommittee called the House Ways and Means subcommittee. They say to the president in this letter about a week ago that they're writing monthly stimulus checks in the fourth stimulus recon. Who are these people? Well, they wrote the third stimulus check recon checks earlier this year. Oh my goodness. Are they writing fifth stimulus recon checks for next year? They are. They represent. And they also wrote your first and second stimulus checks. Also, they're staying in town next week. I have that detail coming up a lot later. Can we top that? We can. As the president has now anchored for stimulus recon to the edge of the finish line by getting international agreement with international leaders about corporate taxes, which is only used to pay for recon. Now, you see a familiar message here? When Roads and Bridges was in recon up to last week, the way it was going to be paid for was by changing the corporate tax rate. But once bipartisan got spun off separately, what's being used to pay for recon still? Corporate taxes. So corporate taxes are no longer being used for bipartisan because they don't want to hear about that. But corporate taxes are being used to pay for your checks. Wow, now that was devilish. What did the president do? The president's paying for recon or stimulus by raising corporate taxes, to which the president said, I'm worried about raising corporate tax rate. Maybe some business may move overseas where the corporate tax rate is lower. And so he reached out to those countries overseas and said, let's raise the corporate tax rate. Let's raise the corporate tax rate. And they tentatively did. So which he reached out to his staffers and said, staff, let's go deliver some of that potpourri from Jill in December. Have them sign on the dotted line then. The staff said, Mr. President, they like potpourri in June. It's Europe. They do things differently. They drive on the other side of the street. He said, okay, so let's go meet them. And then 2 weekends ago, well, now it's 3 Saturdays ago, he went overseas and got those countries to sign on the dotted line, raising the corporate taxes internationally, which anchors for stimulus recon to the edge of the finish line. Because now, yet it's even easier to pass for stimulus recon because the international agreement makes it easier for the Democrats to pass for stimulus recon because international tax issues are no longer needed for stimulus recon. They're in the international agreement. Wow, I see some brilliant planning going on. Oh, you're not done yet, because in the third part of this video, you're going to see that this has all been plotted out. This has all been planned out. And why the July 4th date was certainly a date that Schumer and Pelosi represented several thousands of times that the final vote would be called. But when they realized that the date of how the vote is going to be called is wrong, that it's how they call the vote, then they realized they had to plot. And you're going to see how that plotting has now set this up to pass your fourth stimulus recon. That's coming up in the third part of this video, plus fifth stimulus. Oh my goodness. You're also going to learn how all these legislators are in town next week working on your recon as well. But what's exciting details, more exciting than that, the volunteers. If you need money for rent, utilities, SNAP, and you have had problems finding it, then reach out to the volunteers, because guess what? Jump in the live chat. If you've not yet, post again what monies you've gotten from this channel. Post it right now so other people see it. And so if they have not gotten the money, I want you to go get the money. That's what we do on this channel. We're not tracking checks, we're cashing checks. Because when third stimulus passed, I told you you're going to get a $14 stimulus check. Who cares? You're going to try to get $14,000 from this channel. And now viewers, daily, hourly are getting tens of thousands of dollars. I want you to get as well before even four stimulus lands in your hand. And how do you find the volunteers? Go to the description of this video, find an emoji of a house, click on the emoji of the house. It sends you to the community page, news.lalate.com/community. On the community page, you'll see the volunteers separated from Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You'll also see a picture of some kitty cats. They're not the volunteers. I mean, maybe on Halloween they are, but they're not the volunteers. Reach out to them to help you get that big money. And I'll be back with you in 60 seconds with a huge update about your fourth stimulus and fifth stimulus, and you're going to be really shocked and delighted. Stay with me. I'll be back in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.lalate.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join Lalate Daily for the excitement of the new Lalate live daily. The excitement starts on Mornings Lalate at 9 a.m. Home Lalate returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then Afternoons Lalate at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on Lalate. And the excitement continues right now on Afternoons LA with incredible details about your fourth stimulus and your fifth stimulus. And away we go. I'm going to be with you all weekend long because it's going to be breaking news. And it's also going to be false narratives. And I'm going to tell you in the second part of this video the false narratives you can expect. And I'm going to be ready to fire back at them. So subscribe. At 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I don't want you to miss any video across the board. And next up, 1 million, hit that subscribe button. I'm next back with you with Evenings LA. Stay on this video. It'll automatically take you to Evenings LA in 2 hours from now, followed by Overnight's Crypto 30 minutes after that. Like this video. Every like helps. It also helps the video appear higher in the rankings, and it also delivers you a side of parsley. And consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. Let's go right into fifth stimulus first. Fifth stimulus is heating up. The new jobs number was released this morning. More jobs were created last month than initially thought. It beat Wall Street's estimate. What does this mean? Inflation. Mean we're coming back strong. Also, the president has indicated that he is dedicating $1 billion to the Social Security Administration. And this is wonderful news. This is ensure your third stimulus checks, your fourth stimulus checks, your fifth stimulus checks, and your monthly checks come on time. A lot of people had problems getting that third stimulus check initially. Some are still being sent out, but here's what you need to know. If you do not have a first, second, or third stimulus check and it's missing, you need to file a tax return and you need to request it on the tax return. If you didn't do both steps, contact a tax preparer. Next, there will be a fifth stimulus check. That fifth stimulus check is written by those same people in that House subcommittee. Those House subcommittee members, House Ways and Means, who wrote your third stimulus recon check, say they're writing a fifth stimulus recon check. That will be for January 2022. You will see details of it starting this fall and the voting on it in October, November. We got a lot of news. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be with you all the way to next year. And then finally, the exciting details about raising up your benefits, which would kick in next year. The law for it would go to vote in November, December. What's at issue? They're going to first raise up your benefits, and then they're going to apply a new benchmark. And you've learned from this channel that benchmark's inflation, and you've learned in the economic news that's been released the last 2 days that inflation number is going up. Let's go over all the details, and then we're going to go over the calculation. A lot of this you've learned quite well, and I've been very proud of you. So this stimulus SSI, SSDI reform starts by raising up your benefits one big time. Then it'll apply the new benchmark, and that new benchmark is, of course, inflation. Then they'll remove the asset limit, remove the income exclusion, and remove the marriage penalty. How does this work? Well, it's pretty easy, and you've been able to follow pretty well. First, they'll raise your benefits up one big time. This is you if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, veterans benefits, survivor benefits, or multiple benefits, or Calcina benefits. Oh, by the way, Sirloin won't be back this weekend. And then they will remove your asset cap. More about that in a second. But next, they would apply the income. Then they will apply the benchmark. The benchmark is applied every December. Now, what's important for you to know is that you've learned a lot of this from this channel. First, you've learned they apply the benchmark every December. You learn that the benchmark is inflation, that the benchmark determines your benefits next year. You learn that inflation's going up. And you learned from Jerome Powell last Wednesday, your head of the Federal Reserve, that inflation reached its highest price point in December when they apply your benchmark. So how does this work? Let's go over it. First, they'll raise your benefits up. Then they'll apply the benchmark in December for next year. Most Wall Street analysts are still much the same today based upon the breaking news economic for new job creation. That inflation is heading maybe to about 10% later this year from 4% now. That means that your benefits would raise up not just 10% next year, but lifetime. Once your benefits step up, they never step down. And so if the inflation rate is plus 1% next year, then you're plus 1 plus 10%. Wow. But more for that, well, they're going to add a removal of the asset cap. Dating back to a 1980s law, the asset cap will go away. Now you'll be able to have more than $3,000 in hand, a stimulus check, and some tacos. They're going to remove the income cap. Dating back to a 1960s law that says you can't work and stay on benefits. And finally, they're going to remove the marriage penalty. Love is going to win, and you'll be able to marry your longtime love interest. You will no longer fear the marriage penalty, and you will no longer fear loss of benefits. And so there you go. That is fifth stimulus. But how do people get all this big money for this channel? How do people get this $10,000, $5,000, $12,000, $22,000? By becoming a member. The link's at the top of the chat and pinned comments. Members daily are delivered all the details of what's in third stimulus, what's in fourth stimulus, and what's in fifth stimulus. When third stimulus passed, yeah, you were going to get a $14 stimulus check, but viewers immediately were told about being a purple hawk. That's what that emoji is next to those people's names. They become a member. The link to a membership is at the top of the chat and pinned comment. By becoming a member, you're delivered daily a breakdown from me, everything that's in third stimulus, everything that's in fourth stimulus, and everything that's in fifth stimulus. So go become a member so that you can get this big fortune of money that's yours. All right, here we go. We go into now the big finale of your fourth stimulus check of 2021 starting right now. A couple things to know right off the bat. And it's important to have this knowledge starting right now. Number one, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi said over 1,000 times, wrote in writing 1,000 times, that the final vote would be by July 4th. Clearly, that's not happening. But here's what you need to know. That the date that they call the vote is not what's important. What's important is how they call the vote. This is why this is important. If they called the vote this afternoon at 5 o'clock tonight, and you heard that, and you went to go celebrate in the victory dance in this corner, you would be wrong to celebrate. Why? Because 10 minutes later, they could say, and we're calling the bipartisan at 1 o'clock in the afternoon for a vote, 4 hours before yours. Why would you not want to be doing a victory dance, but rather be heading to the coffin? Because if they call the bipartisan for a vote first, your recon dies. Your recon goes dead. There is only one way that recon will die, and it's calling it last for a vote. There's two ways to pass recon. Calling for a vote first before the bipartisan, or calling concurrently with the bipartisan. So that's key. Number two, what's also really important to know is the calendar. I have done this before. If you were with me in July of last year, you saw the videos where I said, hey, Fox News, what was the false narrative in July exactly this week, last year? Fox News was running reports that, okay, all the legislators are out of town and are not back in town until September. I had to make 1,000 videos about it because it was so wrong. At the same time, what was happening? Mitch was in town with the GOP having subcommittee meetings to appoint a Supreme Court nominees and get confirmation hearings. It was so wrong. It was just ridiculously wrong. What's at issue? There is a difference between the session of voting and being in town. When the House or Senate is not in session, it means they're not on the floor of the House or Senate to vote. That doesn't mean they're not in town. That doesn't mean they're not in Washington, D.C. It doesn't mean they're in another zip code. It means they're not on the floor to vote. It means that room is locked. It doesn't mean they're not in the rest of the building. It's so fake of false news. It's just insane. And I fully expect it to happen next week. If you were saying, they're not, naysayers, they're not in, they can't vote and they're not doing anything to September. They're in town. Now, here's why it's already been invalidated as fake news already. Guess who's already issued statements that they're working next week? The people who's doing your recon. The House Ways and Means Committee, I guess they're viewers of this channel, they've already issued statements that they're meeting every single day next week to work on the recon. The House Ways and Means Committee and the House Budget Committee, which are two of the most important subcommittees for writing the legislation to pass in the House subcommittees first, is those House subcommittees. And guess what they're doing? They're not leaving town. They already issued a statement. We're working all day next week. So there you go. Second, if you remember from July 2020, the calling the vote is much of an anomaly. It's much of a nothing. It's a red herring. It's much of nothing. The Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, the leaders of the Senate, Chuck Schumer, can call a vote at any time. They can order them back into town at any time. The president has authority to order them back into town to vote at any time. They're still in town next week. So they can order a vote at any time. That is not an issue. Nancy Pelosi did that last year with calling a vote on Louis DeJoy. Remember, with Carolyn and Carolyn from New York, called a vote, and she could do that, and she could do it as well. So that's not much of an issue at all. So what's going on, and is this a setup? Well, we don't call it setup. We call it well planned out. If you notice, the recon originally was this behemoth that had roads and bridges in it, which is very expensive, and was being paid for by corporate taxes, and was too big to pass. Now that the roads and bridges are out of the recon, what's being used to pay for the recon? The same thing that was used before when it was roads and bridges. Yeah, convenient, isn't it? Yeah, just a little ironic. And now that the roads and bridges are out, now it's easier to pass, very easy to pass the recon. Yeah, and so who did that? The mistake of Mitch McConnell. He made it easier to pass the recon by taking roads and bridges out of it. He should have just left the roads and bridges in there. Because now that the fact that bipartisan is separate and divested from the recon, it makes it easier to do this. So was this sort of randomly done in the last few days? No way at all. And if you're one of those viewers who love to say things like dragging their feet, which will probably be a banned word on this channel by the end of the today, no, because guess what Jalopal did? Jalopal plotted this out weeks ago. Let's read a quote from Jalopal this last Monday that refers to 10 days before that. Yeah, you can count out the days. It's not last Wednesday. Remember, last Wednesday, not this Wednesday, but the Wednesday before that, was when they took the roads and bridges out of the recon. What is Jalopal's quote? She polled her progressive and Democrats how to vote on the recon separate from the bipartisan 10 days before last Monday, which was before that the recon was separated from the bipartisan. We had an agenda. We have an agenda accomplished, the progressives and the Democrats, and linking the recon with the bipartisan is the only way it's going to get accomplished. We did a poll of our members 10 days ago, and the overwhelming majority was that they were not going to vote on the bipartisan without the recon. They've been planning this. What did Nancy Pelosi say as soon as the bipartisan was separate from the recon? I'm not voting on the darn bipartisan unless you give me the recon. Nancy's been plotting this also as well. There ain't going to be no bipartisan, this is Nancy, unless we have the recon. And if we don't have the recon, then we ain't going to have the bipartisan. As I said, there won't be a bipartisan unless we have a recon. Plain and simple. In fact, I use the word ain't. There ain't going to be a bipartisan unless we have a recon passed by the United States Senate. They plotted this out. Suddenly, your recon is easier to pass. Your recon has all your stimulus in there. Your recon has to be called for a vote or concurrently with the bipartisan. And guess what's also happening? They're piling more money into the recon for you on top of stimulus. How much recon stimulus is in there? That's the big question, not when are they calling the vote. How are they calling the vote, and how much recon stimulus is really in there? Representative Ilar Omar gave us insight. Democrat, progressive, Minnesota. We progressives and Democrats have a commitment that regardless of what happens with the bipartisan, they will give us a recon as far as we want it to go. OMG. And how about some housing stimulus? Housing stimulus? Rent stimulus? I never heard of that. Representative Rich Torres, Democrat of New York, says, I refuse to vote on the bipartisan unless it's linked to the larger recon. And that has to have in there affordable housing for him. Oh, my goodness. This is very well plotted out. So to recap, your recon is your stimulus. Your recon is separate from the bipartisan. Your recon is paid for by corporate taxes. Your recon is now easier to pass. And your recon was plotted for this way by the Democrats over the last 3 weeks so that the recon can pass the right way. Remember, they can still get you a stimulus check in the month of July. The key issue is calling the recon the correct way, not calling it a particular day. It has to be how the vote is more important, how the vote is called, not when the House is called for a vote. All those House subcommittee members will be in session, will be in the building next week, in their House committee sessions next week, and they'll be working on your recon. I will be working on your recon and all the breaking news all weekend long with a full schedule of programming here as usual. And with that, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record for a reason. Next stop, 1 million. Coming up next is Evenings LA. I look forward to seeing you on Evenings LA. Stay on this video, it'll automatically take you there. Then, coming up after that is Overnight's Crypto. And subscribe. Did I say that? No, like the video. Like the video. Because when you like the video, you after you subscribe, you don't have to subscribe again. Because you already subscribed to it's something like that. I'm confused because I'm still looking for Mitch's mixtape. Is it coming? Sorry, Mitch. You know when Mitch is angry and you know you're winning. And also consider becoming a member to ensure you get the big money across the board. Stay informed, stay focused, stay here, and stay with LA for more.